first prize. The only thing we know for sure, Neil, it will be a Chinese name engraved on the trophy.
Yes, hello, Phil, and to everybody watching, wherever you are in the world. I think we knew that yesterday, didn't we, with the semi-finals. 4 Chinese players contesting. Zhang Anda coming through in the earlier session on the final black. Terrific game. I think we can anticipate a similar competitive matchup between this pair. It's an interesting dynamic, is it? Xiao Guodong is seemingly the most improved player on the tour. I mean, he's been extraordinary in the last couple of years. Before that, never looked like winning anything, really. And Zhao Xintong, well, you know, he's former UK champion. Come back for a suspension in extraordinary style to become world champion as an amateur and a qualifier last spring. So the magic's always been there. It's a good start. He didn't play so well yesterday, I felt. 4-1 up against Chris Wakelin. He sort of went to sleep a little. Wakelin came back strongly, but he did enough in the decider. And before that, that victory against Mark Selby was outstanding. He's unlucky there. He's just gone too far.
Yeah, this is really pernickety. But basically, he just caught that red slightly too thin. That's why the cue ball ran on just a millimetre too much. Bookmakers make Zhao Xintong favourite, 4-7. Xiao Guodong 11-8. But considering the way they've played to get here, I agree with Neil. I think Zhao will need to improve, and definitely so far in the 3 matches both have played, Xiao Guodong has produced the more impressive snooker. Overall, I think the most impressive burst of the week was when Zhao Xintong came back from 4-1 down to beat Mark Selby 5-4. He was brilliant in those 4 frames. But over the tournament as a whole, I think Xiao Guodong has been a little superior.
Well, he might have been unlucky on that first red, which ended up stuck to another red, not on the black, but he was very lucky there not to leave anything. It was a pretty wild shot. I suppose if you pot long balls like Xiao Guodong, Zhao Xintong can, I should say, then you probably think you could pot anything, but nobody can.
And just before we get into the meat of the action, I think it's worth saying here that while this match is absolutely immense for Xiao Guodong, there's no getting away from that, it carries even more importance for Zhao Xintong, because while Xiao Guodong has qualified for the Players' Championship later this month, with Zhang's win earlier in the first semi-final, Zhao has to win this match to be in Telford. If he doesn't, he will be a very notable absentee.
Well, he's in a spot of bother here. Red spread far and wide.
one of those frames where there will be not a great amount of development work with the pack. Whoever gets in first might make a few, should make a few. So another side note on that Players' Championship information I was giving you. If Zhao Xintong does lose this match, the beneficiary will be Gary Wilson, who will squeeze into the 16-man Players' Championship.
It's a pretty good shot to finish there, because there's always a chance that he's going to hit the green or brown there on the way through, and then he might have left a narrow, acute red to right middle at top one. But he played it well. He's such a good competitor these days, Guodong. Battles for every point, of course you're supposed to, but he has not always been quite so resolute as he is now. One thing he does know, though, is that his safety is going to have to be pretty watertight against the world champion, because he gets in so much with long pots, and that is a good shot he's played. Well, it's an incredible ball that he potted there. This is probably more meaningful even. Stroked in. I think the key to the first shot was that the red that was coming across to the black has not blocked the black, I don't think, and certainly the red will be potable anyway. I mean, he was in a lot of trouble, but he's engineered an opening here from absolutely nothing. Yeah, I mean, extraordinary, really. I mean, look at the chance now he has. The balls are everywhere. We saw the other side of him, though, a little bit yesterday. Yes, he won against a really good player, Chris Wakelin, but at 4-1 up, he played 3 frames, were very ragged, of which Wakelin took full advantage.
Neil, you've talked about the imperative need for Xiao Guodong to keep things tight, or as tight as he possibly can. As for Zhao Xintong, I think his big thing, he has to improve on his scoring. In that win over Chris Wakelin yesterday, he made an 84 break, and that was it, the only half century of the entire contest, even though he got through. So I think he does need to be a little more fluent in this one.
It's a little tight into that right corner. Well, I tell you, that was not a particularly good shot to finish there. He might be on this red. With all these reds scattered, how has he finished in this position? The bottom one cuts anyway, at worst.
22.
Again, the feature of his game, I mentioned it yesterday, but it's absolutely true, how he can
29.
get work on the cue ball without hitting it hard. Sign of a real class act. Again, he's not quite on the red he wanted to be on. Lovely recovery.
Not been an easy road for
35.
Zhao Xintong. He's dropped 11 frames in his 3 matches. Xiao Guodong, in comparison, dropped only 7.
36.
And it's been a tough draw as well. John Higgins, Mark Selby, Chris Wakelin. On paper, Wakelin was the least well-known opponent, but he gave Zhao Xintong all he could handle. No doubt the standout performance was that against Selby. 4-1 down, and then Selby only scored 11 points in the last 4 frames.
43.
It's just got a little bit of a stretch. For a left-hander, there's not much further across the table he could have reached for this.
$49. $50.
Well, it's a terrific start. He got lucky at the very beginning of the frame when he went for a loose red and didn't leave a ball. But the red he got in from was an outstanding pot. Just completely opened up the whole frame. He's not quite over the line yet. That was not one of his finest. He's got a little bit more to do here. Going to hit the other red is his problem. In potting this one, he can't avoid the red to the left of it as we look. That was very poor not to get the frame one.
Zhao Xintong, 55.
I mean, he had to really get on that bottom right-hand red you saw, and nothing could go wrong. But you felt that he didn't like the shot he was faced with in the end.
And ample on the table for Xiao Guodong to get back into this. Doesn't have to concentrate on a single colour. He does have leeway. Plenty of it.
$8. 15.
Now, is he going to try and move the red on the left cushion? The problem with that is he might not get onto a colour very easily if he does play it. Yeah, that is the issue.
17.
I think he thought he might be on the blue. He didn't think the red was going to crash into it, I suppose. So now the pink, well, it's probably the same sort of shot that we saw Zhao Xintong miss earlier into the opposite plug on the red. Doesn't miss many though, does he, Guodong?
Yeah, dependable, isn't he? More so now at the age of 36 than he's ever been. 37, by the way, next Tuesday. What an early birthday present it would be to lift this trophy. So he's recovered from that misstep, although Zhao Xintong will be delighted that the blue has run quite awkwardly.
Twenty-six. Seven.
And the deeper this goes, Neil, I think the more reliant Zhao Xintong will be on that blue, because he's sticking to his task very well, Xiao Guodong.
Yeah, it might come down to it, mightn't it? It's an annoying distance away from the cushion, though, I think. We don't know whether to cannon it or play behind it. Obviously, we'll find out what he decides to do. He might try and get on the green to move the blue and be on the brown, but I think he'd rather the... I know it sounds odd, I think he'd rather the blue was slightly closer to the cushion than it is for that shot. He's going to play it. If the blue was to the right slightly, where it is, and closer to the cushion, I think it would be an easier cannon. There's kind of room to get this wrong now and get too far in behind the blue. Played it delightfully though, all the same. Wasn't a problem. Would be a hurtful one early. It's frame one of a possible 11, but it will hurt.
The closing frame of the first semi-final went down to the black. The first frame of the second semi-final looks like doing exactly the same.
Now, the question is, can you just hold without hitting a cushion? But if you're using cushions, then you don't always end up perfectly on the pink to run it through on the black.
52.
Yes, he has. He's held it absolutely fine. This is run it through, probably off the left cushion, in behind the black. Terrific match player, isn't he?
58.
Guodong, and this is an early blow that he's struck.
$65 the frame.
All kinds of records falling this week. It is truly historic for Chinese snooker. A record 10 Chinese players qualified for the 32-player event. 9, another record made the last 16. 6, again, a record-breaking achievement, made it into the quarterfinals. First time ever there's been a Chinese monopoly on the semi-final places in a world ranking event. And it was Xiao Guodong who was involved in another history-making moment 13 years ago now, when he took on Ding Junhui in the final of the 2013 Shanghai Masters, the first all-Chinese world ranking event final.
Terrific red. I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, it's this takeover of the game by the Chinese, you know, all the young players coming through. Well, Zhang Anda is 34 and he's been a pro a long time. He played at the Crucible 2012 against Stephen Hendry. He's never even won a match there, so he's hardly new to the game. And Xiao Guodong, 36, again, a professional for many years. Their games have improved. It's not all of a sudden new players have just turned up. This tournament is it's not quite along those lines of whippersnappers coming through and dominating the game. Far from it with this pair. Very established players. It's a fabulous pot. He's playing so nicely already. It's a tough game, isn't it, for Guodong playing the world champion? But he looks absolutely up for it.
Yeah, has beaten him before, 5-2 in the last 64 of the German Masters in 2019. Apart from the Championship League, which is best of fives, and we don't count those in the official head-to-heads, it's only 2-1 in total wins for Zhao Xintong over Xiao Guodong. In fact, in ranking events, they haven't played each other for 7 years. One of the most notable meetings, their first. Zhao Xintong beat Xiao Guodong 4-0 in an Asian Tour event in 2012 when he was 15. It was obvious then he was absolutely full of potential.
Pretty unenviable task for Colin Humphries to put that pink ball right in the middle of those reds. Well, he'd be annoyed because he didn't really have to go into them there, but he felt that it was a good option and he hit it well, but the cue ball sort of did a
23.
double take and went straight back into the bunch. So the break will end there. He's one of these players that you think, well, am I ever going to get back to the table? He looks so strong. And so in concentration, but the break has ended, whether he likes it or not. Well, he's played 2 air shots there. It's not like golf. It's fine until you hit one. He's just trying to touch the balls, but the reason it happens is you don't want to play a little push shot. Well, he hit that, I think. Didn't reach it. Perhaps. Might be my eyes. I thought that might have hit, but even then. Well, he hit that one, and that's not a reach.
23. Zhao Guodong. 4.
Is
Xiao
it
Xintong.
possible to play this shot without pushing it?
Well, they like to do this deliberate miscue, don't they? These players, which I don't think guarantees that it won't be a push shot. He's trying the deliberate miscue now, which I don't think was a push shot. I wonder who invented that. Deliberate miscue. Someone who's lost spare time on their hands.
Will say, though, good idea.
Yes, but I have seen push shots played with that method and not called.
Just cat and mouse in the pack. Now, if this was really early in the frame and no one had got any kind of advantage, you would say it might be an environment for a possible re-rack, but there's no way that Xiao Guodong with a 19-point lead would want that.
Well, thankfully that little non-event stalemate is over.
The first semi-final finished 5 hours and 15 minutes after it began. I did not expect this one to be a slow affair. I'm sure it won't be. But sometimes the balls dictate.
Yes, but also I would say the match currently has been played on Zhao Guodong's terms. You know, he's making it into a really hard game of snooker, tight match play. And that's what he does, and that's what any top player will do. They're getting the match played on their terms. Xintong would much prefer this to be, you know, pot for pot, breaks and all this stuff, and he's not getting many opportunities to show what he can do. Because when Guodong gets in, he scores, and he scores in a big way.
He's the more experienced of the two, as you might imagine, given their age disparity. This is Xiao Guodong's 12th ranking event semi-final, looking for his 5th final. It's Zhao Xintong's 6th ranking semi-final, and he's looking for his 4th final. And the one that we do know is that Xiao Guodong has already done better than the last time he was in a World Grand Prix semi-final in 2019. He lost that match 6-0 to Ali Carter in Cheltenham.
Looked very tight as to whether it went, but we still won't know because he was so far over to the right. Yes, because back then, Guodong would get so far in a tournament and completely lose his game. That 6-0 win, I remember a few matches of that kind where he just run out of puff. He's a very different player these days. Taking this on, I think, difficult. Well, is he on anything? Well, he's going to have to be on the blue, isn't he? Because he's got no other shot. I think he can get to the potting angle, just.
How often does Zhao Xintong pot a really good red from distance and then suddenly he's right in amongst them? Of course, it happened in the first frame, but he didn't take full advantage.
No, in this frame he's got to be better than that, hasn't he? Because he basically did everything to win the first frame and then slightly out of position missed the red. Doesn't want a repeat of that here. I wonder if he'd consider that red up by the blue into the yellow pocket, you know, because it really would completely open up the frame. He's not looked at it. Don't know that the blue pots to middle. It may do. Well, if the blue does pot to right middle, then of course he's fine. And then he can take that troublesome red away at the first opportunity, i.e. next. Well, he won the little tactical exchange, didn't he? By potting that long red into the yellow pocket.
20. $21.
Over the years, certain players come along and you just love watching them play. And
26.
Zhao Xintong is most certainly in that number. plays the game with
37.
such smoothness. Now, yesterday, in his quarter-final win against Chris Wakelin, he was coughing a certain amount, and we just saw another one there.
34.
I thought he played like somebody who was slightly off colour, you know, not quite at his best. And he was coughing a lot, but we don't know of anything. We just an observation we made at the time on what we were seeing. That was a lovely little shot through the gap, wasn't it?
42.
Set up to be a great match, isn't it? And you think Guodong is a really top match player now, but don't forget who he beat in the round before last. An in-form Mark Selby, UK champion, playing as well as he has for years. Got the better of him from behind. So I guess he feels he could do the same to Zhao Guodong.
48.
He plays a similar sort of game.
49.
He's up to sort of join the dots here, doesn't he? Just get this frame one at this visit.
$56.
He's going to need 2 more reds.
$57.
Nice shot. Especially when he only needs 1 ball. You know, he's facing this red squarely, and that's all he needs. This has been an outstanding break
63.
on the back of Xiao Guodong's superb clearance to win the first frame. If you haven't watched any of the snooker this week from the World Grand Prix, you can understand
69.
from these 2 frames why these 2 players have reached this far. They're playing well.
Zhao Xintong, 69.
The break ends at 69. The lead is 50 with 43 on, so 2 snookers needed. Now remember, in the deciding frame against Chris Wakelin, Zhao Xintong thought he'd won. He was 70 in front with 51 on. Wakelin needed 5 snookers. In the end, though, he got it down to just needing 1. But this is far from over. I'm not saying he's bad from distance, Xiao Guodong, but he's not as good a potter from length as Zhao Xintong. Few are. And that seals the frame now.
1. 5.
Just floats the balls around, floats around the table. Don't know whether you agree, Neil, but there's a sort of hypnotic quality about the way he plays.
No, I do agree. I really think the same, actually. It was such a joy to watch him on the one-table setup at the Crucible, unflustered by, you know, the magnitude of what he was achieving out there. The way he was playing. Beat O'Sullivan with a session to spare, because he hadn't been on the one-table setup before. O'Sullivan might not have been at his best, okay. Forget that, because O'Sullivan has got that same sort of aura about him. Anyway, he's done well here.
After losing the first frame in disappointing... One of those, when it goes in, you want the cue ball to either apply the brakes or have a beneficial kiss. For Xiao Guodong, it did neither.
Xiao Guodong, 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so easy to roll up to a ball here. Firstly, there's not a red close to a cushion. It's often, if you've got one on the black cushion, it's one that you tuck up to, and even on that left side of the bunch, you'd have to be embedded in there to stop that red up the table being potable. He's playing into the top side. This has got to be hit well. This could go wrong. It's gone very wrong. I don't know what the path was that he was looking for. It was very precise. Just below the ping, he got it all wrong, that shot.
Over the last few years, Xiao Guodong has become one of the game's premier scorers. 43 centuries this season, only 3 behind Zhao Xintong. And apart from innate skill and the fact he's very dedicated, I think one of the reasons why he scores so well, Neil, is because when he's in the balls, he seems to concentrate wonderfully.
He hits the ball very well, and you know, he can make players sit out for long periods while he dominates the table. He won't be rushed into any shots. As I say, he's just a consummate match player these days. His ball striking is superb. And he's not frightened to take on big shots, but sometimes they go wrong.
Xiao Guodong, 7. Zhao Xintong, 5.
Sometimes you're the victim of hitting a shot too well and the red spread and one goes in. Again, he didn't have to go into them there, but he wanted to be positive. Bit of a seesaw these few frames. You think you know which way they're going to go, and something happens. Just over-screwed slightly there.
Six.
Another exquisite floating shot.
Seven.
Amazing, though, how often a player goes into the bunch off the blue and knocks in a red. It's a common thing, but it's always difficult to take on the chin.
12.
Now that he's finished on that red, can he get position on the black into the opposite corner? It's slightly congested, but there are presumably places on that right side where he could put the keyboard where the black will be on. Yeah, you can see it from there, and I think he's going to have to play it now that he's finished where he has.
13.
Now he's just inspecting the black spot, and just if he could clear it, if he could screw those two reds away from there, that would open everything up for him. I decided that that would not work. Perhaps those two reds are actually a plant. Well, they're lined up perfectly. I don't know if the phone or the alarm going off on his backswing put him off, but it can't have helped. Now, what a big shot this is. He looked down and potted it, didn't he? Didn't think about what had gone wrong. Red to middle to follow.
26. Seven.
Superb. It was a red to that pocket that started his problems yesterday against Chris Wakelin. 4-1 up, had a chance to make it 5-1, overcut a red to middle. That was an easier pot than the one he's just knocked in. Generally speaking, though, and of course mistakes will crop up, but generally speaking, when it comes to middle pocket play, he's dynamite.
35.
Yes, it wasn't easy to see how that was going to work out very well, and it hasn't, quite honestly. He gets some applause for it, but the red he can play is quite a thin cutback. And the cue ball has got half an eye on where that's going to finish as well. Oh, lovely shot.
41. Forty-three. 44.
.41 the lead, so the blue and one more red required.
.49.
Three frames, three breaks, over 50 from the Crucible King.
Yeah, I think just pop the blue here and maybe attempt the plant, which doesn't have to go in, but if it did, it would put play to any returning to the table from Guodong.
.55. Xiao Xintong, 55.
So Zhao needs 3 snookers. Always the possibility, though, of 1 snooker and a free ball.
One.
Yes, and as ever, Guodong has not given up this frame. That was a really good shot there to get on the black, and of course he won't attempt to pop the last red. That'll be what he intends getting the snookers on. 44, so 9 points he has to make up at least. 35 on the table. A snooker and a free ball is the best outcome for him.
Xiao Guodong, 8.
Well, at this level, he will be disappointed with that. I think at the very least we expected the snookers to be laid. I think after his fright against Wakelin in the decider yesterday, Zhao doesn't want a repeat of that. But it's amazing how these balls run sometimes.
Frame conceded. Frame, Xiao Xintong.
Knowing the red was on, Zhao Guodong concedes, and so Zhao Xintong after Zhou Yulong 6-5. By nil, the narrowest of margins.
Well, there was a very interesting moment actually in that last frame, and sometimes in snooker you'll have regrets over something you don't do rather than what you do. And the blue at the end, he wanted 1 ball, Yulong, and he had a blue to double into the right middle. And I think it's a double he would have been favourite to get. And he wanted the blue, and he decided to play the snooker, which he didn't get. And I don't think he ever had a real chance after that, so he never got that moment. But it's easy afterwards. I think if he could have his time again, he'd play that double for the match. Anyway.
Yeah, then shortly afterwards, he went in off into the middle pocket at the most ridiculously acute angle, and that was that.
That was very unfortunate, actually, wasn't it? Look at this shot he's playing. Goodness me. Oh, my word. Wow. I mean, he hasn't finished on one, but it was a very daring shot to play. He whipped that cue back and threw that ball. Well, we never quite got to see it.
Xiao Xintong, 6.
Well, I think even from a neutral perspective, it was a pity he didn't drop on one there. It was such an enterprising shot. At least, though, he's got a really good cue ball here.
So I think, in a way, I think playing Guodong, who's, as we keep saying, you know, he's got a real all-round game. It almost makes up Zhao Xintong's mind, similar to when he played Mark Selby, that, look, I have to take my chances here. If I get too sucked into a long safety exchange, I'm probably going to lose them and take the edge off my game, so either I pot them or he does. But, of course, there's got to be an element of control to that as well. You can't go for ridiculous shots.
Zhao far too experienced to be perturbed yet. And he must be full of confidence. He played nicely to beat Kyron Wilson 5-2 in the first round here. Then he had a 144 break in overcoming Ronnie O'Sullivan 5-3. And he was always in command against Sir Zhao Wei, making a century and 4 other breaks over 60. Tell you what, he's thankful he avoided a double kiss there. Just about. This is the last frame before the mid-session interval, and the pattern of this match could be said by what happens in this frame. Not the most telling safety.
He's trying to play the big shots, but at the moment, they're not quite going to plan. Can he get to that left-hand red without having to play the plant? He might want to play the plant, as it happens, to get the cue ball out of that corner, but I mean, it's not simple. Not with the cue ball where it is. It's one of those, it looks nothing, that shot, but trust me, it was not easy.
Pink off its spot, black out of commission for now. But there are still plenty of positives for Xiao Guodong.
Well, it could end up a good chance. The ball's just a little congested for now. Not impossible. He could pop 2 reds here. He probably doesn't want that to happen. No, he's played it well.
7.
What a chance to level things up. It's been an enjoyable match so far.
Apart from the obvious, the overcut red from Zhao Xintong on 55 in the opening frame, not been a match of unforced errors.
13. 18. 19. 26.
Yeah, nice shot.
7.
It's a brave shot to play that. He could have played up for the blue. He knows he hasn't got a lot of room to play on the black, but now that he's got the shot, he's much better off playing on the black.
Thirty-four. 35.
And now the black that was once hemmed in is completely free. Not always been the easiest professional road for Xiao Guodong. Turned pro as a teenager in 2007.
42.
And it's only in recent years he started to reap bigger rewards. If he were to win this match and prevail tomorrow, as he asks for the cue ball to be cleaned, if he is crowned champion here, that would yield his biggest ever payday, £180,000, superseding the £140,000 he won for winning the Women Open. So massive stakes over the next day and maybe 2 for the man from Chongqing.
Fifty. 51. 51.
Good standard so far, Neil, from both.
Yeah, terrific break this again. It was a mistake. I mean, if you think back, Xiao Guodong opened up the reds in playing safe, left that
56.
the two reds close to this pocket. He's going to pop the red in now. So these could have been Zhao Xintong's, but he missed a plant, which he might have given, I think, a fraction more care and attention to. Because what happens is you miss and you sit out for long periods, and that's exactly what he's doing here.
57.
He looked a bit fed up there, didn't he? But I think sometimes with Guodong, he really occupies the table. Good shot, slightly awkward cueing.
64.
So this is it. We've swiftly arrived at frame ball. Nothing positionally ambitious. Why should there be?
72.
The black was all important.
Foul. Xiao Xintong.
And now will Ian off entice
Xiao Guodong.
Zhao
72.
Xintong to continue? I would suspect yes.
He's got to, hasn't he? He's only one snooker. He's got to carry on. I mean, he's got a pot of long red to start with. If this goes in, the frame could yet be quite interesting here. There's not really an if about it, is there, on those for Xintong when he's got ball in hand? There's a penalty kick. Now, does he take 3 red blacks or 4? Because it's only one snooker. There's no necessity to leave the last red on the table
8.
in this instance.
Yeah, or indeed the yellow, given the close proximity of green to brown.
I think so many players just think they have to get the snooker on the last red, but of course they don't really. Only if it's 2 or 3 snookers and then the free ball comes into play. This is not one of those occasions.
Sixteen. I
mean, the argument is that if you take another red and a black here, you've already got the red and the black in the locker. Whereas if you play the snooker on the last red, you get the 4 points. You've still got to take a black then. He's not. He's been lured into
24.
getting the snooker right now, which I think could be a mistake, Only time, of course, will tell.
Xiao Xintong.
It's not going to trouble him. I think he made a poor decision there. I think he should take another red-black. I suppose the argument would be, you get right in behind the blue, and it could be a pretty evil snooker that you lay, but he hasn't.
And what's more, when he hits this red, the green might well go safe, which is another insurance policy potentially. It hasn't, though. But look what has occurred.
Well, the frame lives on, and Guodong will be keen not only to pot the red, but to avoid any way of committing a foul. So the pink was chipped towards the left middle there. That would have been horrible.
It's been a tournament of great escapes, or near great escapes. Chris Wakelin lost the first frame against Elliot Slesser in the last 16, when Slesser needed 3 snookers. Of course, if Zhao does get the required penalty points, he then has the problem of clearing the balls, and where the pink is, that's most certainly in Xiao Guodong's favour. And nudging the black into a much safer position doesn't do Zhao Xintong any good.
No, absolutely not, because even if he gets to snooker now, he's got to get on the black with the red, and as I say, he could have done all that from the outset. Well, there he actually tried to pot the red when it was much more difficult than last time. Frame still going here, and really Guodong has, with that in off earlier, it just kind of kept Xintong interested for a little while. It's over now, though. Very interesting 4 frames we've seen.
And I think we're still no wiser as to who will come through to play Zhang Ganda for the title tomorrow.
Eight.
Never easy to beat these days, Xiao Guodong. He's armed with a new level of confidence. No position, but it's purely academic anyway. I think most would agree 2-2 at the mid-session interval is very much a reflection on how things... And it's a match of many subplots. We've talked about the fact that Zhao Xintong has to win this to be in the Players' Championship. The place of Xiao Guodong there is absolutely assured. But he's 9th on the one-year list. Zhao, if he were to win this match, he would move to 7th. So his hold on a Tour Championship place would be strengthened as a consequence.
Of course, the other extraordinary thing would be that should the world champion Zhao Xintong win, the run of different winners would continue in ranking events this season. Neither Zhang Ando or Xiao Guodong has won yet. Guodong, of course, has. He won in Wuhan again for the second year running. So he's the only one that can actually break the trend, which is bizarre when you think of it. The lack of a dominant player all season. Certainly a far cry from the days of Stephen Hendry winning everything, and prior to that, Steve Davis winning everything. That's long since changed.
As he was over that, I doubted he would pot it, purely and simply because he's been on a 15-minute break, coming back a little cold, and yet he knocked it in as though it was the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, his strike rate, I think, of long pots, especially to the right corner, it seems, is extremely high. Honestly, I don't think there's anybody who pots better at long range in the game right now. There might be a few candidates.
9.
But he's, to me, still at the top of the list. The other thing he does brilliantly is break the bunch open. Usually on something when he does. Usually gets on a red. And that's a good shot if he's on a red to left corner, because these two reds are close together.
Seventeen. 24. 25. 32. 33.
Zhao Xintong appearing in his second ranking event semi-final of the season. In his first, he lost to a Chinese opponent in Wu Yize at the International Championship. He has won a tournament as world champion, though. The Riyadh Season Championship invitation event with a £250,000 first prize, beating Sean Murphy, Judd Trump and Neil Robertson.
40.
I think you can work out the plan here. He could have gone into there, but he's thinking, okay, red, left, middle, top side blue,
47.
if that is possible here, and then try and get them open from the blue, I'm assuming. But has he finished a little awkwardly on this red or not? Doesn't appear like he's in any trouble. If it's dead straight, that might just scupper him slightly. Yeah, what he could do, of course, is stop the cue ball where the red is and play the blue around two cushions into the bunch. But it's a bit of a long-winded route, isn't it, if you could go directly. But he may have no choice.
Yeah, that shot tells us arrow straight.
48.
Yep, so that's what he's going to do. It's going to be a trace of right-hand running side to make the cue ball zip around the cushions. Of course, it's not so easy to play that shot. So the break comes to an end. Had he been top side of the blue,
53.
I'd like to think that he could have got the frame one there. But not now.
Now, that was a lesson for all players.
53.
Yes, he was a little dejected. He ended the break, but he didn't rush that shot and play it in a sloppy or haphazard fashion. He did look at the reactions of the balls. Now, I'm not saying he's played the shot brilliantly, but at least he gave it his full attention.
He's left him out. Shot to nothing red here. And if this goes in, he's smacking the frame again. So he kind of got away with one a little bit, but it was only a semblance of a chance, wasn't it? No more. Now Xintong has got the same sort of a shot. Red to right corner. He gets closer to these all the time, it seems to me. If you're going to miss them, I suppose, miss them to the thin potting angle.
The value, the size of a lead in any particular frame is dependent on where the remaining balls are. And here, they're very much in favour of the chaser.
So the frame is not exactly evenly poised, clearly, because Xintong is considerably in front, but you know where the balls are, you couldn't rule out a comeback, as we saw in the opening frame, where Guodong cleared to steal it. I just wonder if he's got the shot here off the red up the table to sort of send it up with a half ball contact over to the right and the cue ball off 3 cushions to land in behind the yellow. That's a shot he's played, but he hasn't hit it quite right.
So 4 half centuries from Zhao Xintong, 2 from Xiao Guodong. Good stuff, but not one visit snooker yet. Well, everything helps in terms of where the balls are, and that's why Zhao Xintong will be delighted to see the yellow there. One small piece in the jigsaw, but it's beneficial.
Every now and then he plays a slightly loose one, and the red has been covered. That is close to the right corner. It's actually given Guodong a bit of a headache, I think. He's going to try and hit the left side of the red and get the cue ball roughly back to where it is now. Oh, he's gone the other way. Oh dear. And played it poorly. Beautiful shot. It's a kind of shot you don't really want to be playing 52 in front. If you're behind, you'd certainly have played it, but what a delightful positional shot as well. I think we can chalk this frame up now in favour of the world champion.
8. 9.
Not being too critical to say that Zhao Xintong has not been at his wondrous best this week. But he's doing enough, and that phrase applies to this match.
16.
He's certainly been less
17.
prone to error in this contest than he was against Chris Wakelin yesterday. Even when he was 4-1 up, he'd made a shed load of mistakes.
$24. 25.
And we must also remember he's now halfway to the final, and if he does get in there, he's played in 3 ranking event finals before, won them all,
33.
and won them all comfortably.
Yeah, I think that he's a born winner, isn't he, as a player? And that man will be fully aware of what he's up against here. Guodong.
41.
You think of what happened and the time he spent out of the game. He seems to have made a full recovery. Well, we know why he was out of the game, but no, I'm glad he's been given
48.
a second chance in life, because the game would be poorer, I think, without players like Zhao Xintong playing it.
Yeah, second chance in this frame as well, which he's taken with aplomb.
$56.
The yellow was asking a lot even for him to make it to tomorrow's final over the best of 19 frames. But who will join him there? Xiao Guodong, keenly aware he can't afford to let Zhao Xintong get into full stride.
Just got to be careful he doesn't push the red over to the left here. No, he's played it immaculately as ever. Very fine player these days. All-round game, you know, his safety and his appreciation of, you know, when he's at the table, how much he is in command, and he can keep his opponent sitting down. And we saw it earlier, actually. Xintong looked a little restless when he was, you know, faced with Xiao Guodong in amongst them. He will not be rushed.
Avoids all traffic. Well, there, he avoided all balls, including the one he tried to hit. I think it's fair to say that Xiao Guodong is recognised as the better tactical player of the two, but I would say that defensively, the game of Zhao Xintong is on the upward curve. The way he plays, he's never going to be a grinder, of course. That would be impossible. But I do think he's more astute in this department.
I think the overall level of safety these days is higher than it's ever been. I don't remember so many players able to play immaculate safety. If you go back a couple of decades, I just don't think the players was good at that. I mean, there were some players who didn't seem to have a safety game at all back then.
Yeah, I agree, Neil. I think it's two things, obviously execution, but also visualisation.
In the end, the battle has been partly won by Xiao Guodong because the last safety shot was weak, but it'll only count if he knocks his red in. And it's not straightforward. You know, he's queuing awkwardly into the corner of the table, sort of digging into his ribs. He's stretching a bit. I think that's why he missed it. He didn't seem entirely comfortable. And you could see he was trying to get that cue ball back out of there. He didn't fancy it.
Had that red trapped in the jaws a little more, it would have stayed right over the pocket.
Just a couple of shots he's played, Guodong here, to retreat back down the table for pots, and it's like he knows that if he loses this frame and there's a 2-frame gap, the match could be slipping away from him. So I think he's a little tentative at that prospect. He knows he has to win this frame. Could be that if he went 2 down, it could soon be over. It's one of those with Zhao Xintong, the way he plays. He could just put the match away quickly. These reds are quite close together. He thinks this plant is bang on. But he was wrong. Now, has he got away with this again? Not this time. There's just a few signs, even though this is a thin pot that he might be able to play. Just signs that there's just a little bit of, say desperation is much too strong a word. But a little bit of anxiety has crept in. I'm not sure he can pot this red. It's ever so thin. So he's been lucky for the 3rd time, would you believe? Thought he hadn't got away with it, but he did.
And that was a poor misjudgment, not getting in behind the brown at this level. Should have done.
He's been slightly backed into a corner here, Zhao Xintong. Does he have to take a pot on? It would be an incredibly difficult one. This red he's looking at, I mean, these are so difficult if he plays it. That is just wonderful, wonderful shot.
One.
My goodness, what a player.
Sometimes words elude you. You can't quite put into effect what you should do. It was so well struck. It was so tough, as Neil described.
5.
Undoubtedly the shot of the match so far, and it could lead to plenty. Just a phenomenal pot.
6.
Being able to pot from distance, I always think, is akin to pro golfers who can hit the ball a greater distance than their competitors. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's an absolutely massive advantage, especially when you can score as fluently as Zhao Xintong.
10. 11.
Feels a very big passage of play, this, doesn't it? If he could, after that fantastic opening red, put himself 2 frames in front, it might be the decisive move in the match. Of course, he hasn't made it yet, but he could do here.
17.
This feels a very big shot, doesn't it, to clear the black to both pockets on this red.
18.
Well, he's given himself this chance.
85. 6.
If there was a shot of the tournament, the opening red here would be on a very short list.
Once again, an expert at breaking open the reds too. I do believe that that is one aspect of his game that he's up there with the best I've ever seen. And it was so evident during the World Championships. I remember sitting alongside Stephen Hendry in Sheffield at the one-table setup, and he said exactly the same. And if he says it, then it's got to be true. He's never seen a player break the reds open better in his life. And it tends to be on one most of the time.
38. 39. 46. 47. 54. 55.
'The initial red was such quality.
52.
It's entirely fitting. It's led to a significant break.
63.
Should be a frame-winning break.
69. 70.
'What a deserved round of applause.
Yes, I was just picking up on Zhao, the way he played this frame, Guodong that is, and the way that he just missed a few shots, a little anxious, knowing that he could fall 2 down, and I wonder if Xintong picked up on that too. He potted a fantastic red, and this has been a wonderful break. And while the match isn't over, of course it isn't, a 4-2 in a best of 11, you feel that Xintong is part way there. He's looking the stronger now of the two. He lost the first, don't forget, and this frame is long since won.
85 and the frame.
85 the break, the highest of the match. Fair to say this is a must-win frame for Xiao Guodong.
Yes, he stayed down on that a long time, and you tend to feel that I agree with you, Phil. It's a frame he has to come out on top of. Don't want to go 3 down with 4 to play, of course, who would? But the problem he's got is the man in the chair who's looking pretty deadly. but he's capable still. You know, he's now lost 4 of the last 5 frames because he won frame 1.
3.
But he's got to make some impression here. Giving himself a good chance with that opening red.
Eleven. 12.
Neil was talking and explaining about Zhao Xintong's ability to time and again go into the bunch and split them effectively. As for Xiao Guodong there, no cigar it seems.
No, and I don't think he played that one poorly, actually. He just, the red's opened. I mean, who knows how Xintong would have got on with exactly the same shot. I suspect he'd have been on one, but you can't really fault Guodong for that effort. He might have to play a double to keep the break alive here. Double to left middle. No, just playing safe instead.
Xiao Guodong, 19.
Just take his medicine. He'd be disappointed, clearly, because it was a good chance. But at least he leaves the table not giving a chance back. And that's okay, good shot.
Given Xiao Guodong's reliability in the balls, I think Zhao Xintong will be absolutely overjoyed that he's only 19 adrift. Fortunate there. Yes, the red is on, but it's a really tough pot. Oh, Zhao's done well. Zhao's done really well.
1.
Yes, he's okay. He wouldn't have wanted to flick that red. He came perilously close to, but he's perfectly now able to get to that left-hand red of the bunch. The cue ball just drifting a little too far. He'll play the black, but all these cutbacks that can go wrong if you're not careful, pot and positionally.
Xiao Guodong, 5.
Well, the first question is, what has he left? Has he left anything? I'm not so sure. He'd been very fortunate not to have done, because that was a bad shot. The one before was not great. I feel like he is entitled to leave one there, but it looks like he's left nothing. Goodness me, what a difficult shot he's playing. He's playing a pot that's in the left pocket. Oh, wow. Can you believe it? He's left nothing, but he's found one somehow.
1.
Manufactured a shot to nothing. I'm not saying it was as good an opening red as the one in the previous frame, but it was sensational. Well, again, how can he drop there?
I wonder, should he... I mean, he didn't so much go into the bunch there, did he? Just sort of try and dislodge a few. Maybe he could have played it a little firmer, but it's easy afterwards to say that, isn't it? He's trying to sort of forge clear in the match, but it's just not quite being allowed to happen. It's quite amazing that he, having potted that red, only made 8 from that.
The one thing I like from Zhao Xintong in this match, when he has dropped out of position, and of course he sets himself very high standards, he's a magician, but when he has dropped out of position, at least he's just taken that extra second to step back and not play a hasty safety shot.
Obviously, that was ill-directed, but it's kind of given a little bit of a conundrum here. What do you do if your Guodong is already can play? That red might go to middle. Anything but easy. Well, it certainly does pot on the strength of what we're seeing. Always look near Jordan. Sometimes they do still go in. Well, he's looking at the cut. It's wafer thin. What is he on here? Yellow to middle. So this, if it was a big moment in the previous frame when he got in, it's an even bigger one on this occasion. He's got a chance here because Guodong has shown some signs of weakness in this frame for once.
3.
Playing with a spider, got more of a reaction on the cue ball than he imagined. Still coughing and spluttering a little, but it's not affecting his game as of yet. He seemed a lot more poised today than he did against Wakelin yesterday.
Six.
One of the most hard-working breaks this is going to be. If the red goes in, that's 5 pots for 7 points.
Seven.
Yes, he may have taken low-value colours at the start, but it's kind of was worth it in the end
50.
to give him this prime position. And from here, he's got a chance to make a real impression on the frame.
$22. 23. $28. 29. 36.
Well, he thought he would take that risk. It
37.
just means that he had potentially awkward queuing on the pink, because the pink actually is not on its spot. So all of a sudden, he's got a significant shot to play here to get from blue to red. Shot he plays ever so well. He's dropping the cue down on the blue and coming up and down, and he's on the brink. He needs both reds.
42. 43.
Every frame in this match so far has featured at least a half-century break. And that pattern continues.
50.
Well, I mean, this is not a simple one. He gave himself a bit to do here by playing this shot. And I don't think he played a very good shot on the black.
Zhao Xintong, 50.
I can't imagine why he wouldn't have got close to the red. You could see that coming.
Yeah, normal ball, that's a tester. When it's frame ball, even more so. Now has enough of the red poked its way out.
No, is the answer. So he's a bit fortunate there. And let's be honest, the frame is up for grabs, even though there's 34 in it on one red, because nothing is difficult. If Guodong got the next chance, he'd fancy it. Although that is a pretty decisive blow, I think. That is a pretty decisive blow by laying that snooker.
Yeah, he did really well with the cue ball, but the red hitting the pink, that greatly assisted Zhao Xintong. It's a must hit.
Yeah, must hit, and also must not leave it on, obviously. So that combination is a difficult one to get completely right. Well, there's the first part done. The second part is end of frame.
Yeah, this would be one of the most simple frame balls missed imaginable.
One.
Yeah, he started to pull away, and Guodong started with such promise, taking the first frame from a long way behind. But he's only picked up one other frame since, so he's becoming outclassed, really, out-swamped, really, by the brilliance of the world champion.
Yeah, the frightening aspect is he's not playing at his best.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought with Xintong, and I said this quite recently, that I believe the best is yet to come from him in general. And isn't that a frightening thought, given that he's already been UK champion and now world champion?
Could he be the one who ends the crucible curse? No first-time winner has gone back there and retained the title. I think he's well equipped to do so. First things first. It's about getting to this World Grand Prix final. And Zhao Xintong has now got has to win the last 4 frames to prevent that happening. Bear in mind, though, yesterday against Chris Wakelin, Zhao was also 3 up with 4 to play at 4-1 in a best of 9, and in the end he only just scrambled over the line.
One.
Beautiful shot. And the comeback has to start somewhere, and that would be a good opening red to make that happen. I think he knows now sometimes the pressure changes when you go behind like this, and he might open his shoulders a bit and maybe play a little quicker, and in a strange way the pressure might have lifted from his shoulders.
Eight. Nine. Sixteen. 17.
Three reds, a third black coming up. For a player who's made 3 147s in pro competition,
24.
including 2 this season. But he was just a little underpaced off the black.
I know one thing, he really gets a lot of work on that cue ball, doesn't he? Time the ball well. That cue ball whizzed across the table with the backspin having hit the bunch. It's not necessarily an easy colour to play, but he really did get hold of the shot. Now, can he get past the line of the green here? Potting this. I think it helps the pinks just away from the blue spot. So he could do it. Not bad.
Yeah, the cue ball stopping just in the nick of time.
31. Thirty-two. Xiao Guodong, 32.
Yes, and once again, a shot where he's just a little uncomfortable, stretching slightly, is one that got away. He was reaching across for this. You know, for instance, a left-hander like his opponent would have been able to comfortably get to that shot.
One.
So what kind of damage did that mistake cost? Certainly a chance for Xintong to get back into the frame at least here.
Normally, he is a formidable finisher. He wasn't against Wakelin yesterday,
8.
but quite often he makes frame and match-winning breaks look second nature. Now, it gives the impression of being nervous. Of course he is. But he doesn't give off that vibe.
Sixteen. Seventeen.
Now, will he try and play the cannon on the left of the three? Oh, yes, he will. And he's played it beautifully.
Twenty-four. 25.
Yeah, just slightly gone too far. Not in a big way, but I mean, the two reds lined up to the right corner. He can't get across for those here directly. I wouldn't say things have run aground, but he's got to play a good shot now.
32. Zhao Xintong, 32.
Had to try and coax it in with side, and he was off target.
Yeah, he didn't have to play, I don't think. If it was a shot with side, as it seemed, then there was a red out in open play that he could have played instead of it.
1.
Xiao Guodong was entitled to fear the worst, but he's been reprieved.
8. Nine. $16. $17.
Well, he's not quite at the point where he's going to guarantee to win the frame. He's looking at the red 2 right middle. He's fairly acute. And you'd want to be right behind it, I think, on these shots. You wouldn't want to be playing into it a long way off. From that angle, it looks very difficult. I think from the other camera angle, it'll look more of an open pocket. But it's got to be played gently either way.
22. $23.
Yeah, it looked simple. It was anything but. Those shots have to be treated with the utmost respect. And you have to respect Xiao Guodong for sticking in there.
28.
Yes, I mean, he had another red he could play without using side. It was a thin cut into the same pocket. And I think it's going to cost him
29.
the chance to win the match 6-2 anyway.
Yeah, this is frame ball, but Xiao Guodong he'll be very keen to add the last red to prevent any shenanigans.
36.
Well, the comeback is underway.
45. 48. 52.
He will have to wait and bite his nails a little more.
Yes, he's regrouped pretty well, hasn't he?
57.
Guodong. He did miss a ball earlier in the frame of yellow, but when this chance came along, he was more than happy to oblige, and he's still in this match for sure.
63.
Right off, Xiao Guodong at your peril in the 8th frame. He badly wants to do so in the 9th. Doesn't want to let Xiao Guodong build a head of steam.
Oh, well, that's a mile away. I'm
Bump,
not sure
miss.
if he played it with side or he actually clipped the bump of the middle pocket there. Either way, it went wrong.
Can you just check for me, Tatiana, please? Yeah.
Playing a different shot this time. It's risky, isn't it, with the red up the table? Very good shot. He didn't want to play that way, but he knew that he had to come across wide because the red up the table was a concern for him. Had he hit the brown full ball, he'd have left the red, but he played a terrific shot.
Yeah, appreciated by his opponent.
Well, he's done another one. He potted a brilliant red earlier on. This is just gliding it in. What a fabulous shot again. I don't think you can ever truly keep him safe, you know. There's always a chance he'll unleash something.
8.
When you're knocking balls like that, it's almost unfair, because Xiao Guodong's safety, as we talked about, was really good.
9.
Yeah, now he's going to have to knock in another one. He didn't think he was going to clip the black on the way through there. Yeah, I mean, he likes knocking in those long reds, but there's a lot resting on this if he plays the blue.
Green ball.
No, the green it'll be instead. He's got to get this. What a player. What a player he is.
It sounds corny, I know, but that's the shot of a world champion. Not just the skill, but the heart, the nerve.
13.
Now that's an interesting shot, and that certainly will free the black into that same
17.
pocket that he's going to put the red into. So there's quite good vision there, I think, to play that red. Won't immediately be able to play
18.
on the black, but had he finished behind the blue, he could have played the right-hand red, then the black. Might have to play a slightly different option now. There's a little bit in between shots there.
23.
I think the red into the opposite corner pocket is the most likely. Save that plant for later, and the red by the black maybe. Yeah, if he gets this and gets on the blue perfectly, it could be end of match in the next 5 or 10 minutes. He's just done about that, I think. Top side of the blue. Possible plant. Not got much angle here, however.
This plant has to be made. It's not set on.
30.
Just living slightly dangerously. He's got to play another shot, which could be missed because he's got slightly divided concentration on this as to where his keyboard will finish. Negotiated it really well.
37.
Been lots of good stuff in this match, but if Xiao goes on to win, the two shots we'll remember. The two block-busting opening reds from nowhere.
45.
Now, under pressure where the cue ball as close to the side cushion as this, the black isn't a certainty.
Got down and played it very quickly, didn't he? And now he knows that this is almost the victory lap, isn't it, from here? There's a few more reds and blacks to take.
54.
It's been a stunning break. Beautiful. He's almost at the brink here. Got just slightly more to do. A red, any colour. And a red that follows it will see him into the final.
In elite professional snooker, you need two things: abundant skill
69.
and a wonderful temperament.
70.
Zhao Xintong proving again he's got both.
Yeah, what a player. And the run will continue of
77.
a new winner of a ranking event this season. We haven't had the same person win two, and we won't do
78.
so again, because both of the finalists, they get to win anything this season in the way of ranking events. It's been a very enjoyable match. I think just the power
85.
in scoring of Zhao Xintong has won in the day.
86.
Well, I think as the season has moved on, he's getting stronger and stronger as we approach Sheffield in the spring.
'93.
Snooker's old MC, Alan Hughes, when he was describing a fine talent, he always used to say the touch and the talent of, and that would certainly apply to Zhao Xintong. He's got wonderful touch, talent off the charts, and
101.
as I mentioned before, a terrific temperament. And here, he's reserved his best for last. After making
107.
7 breaks of 50 or more,
109.
he's put the icing on the cake with a century.
112. 116. 121.
A unique star of snooker.
Xiao Guodong, 121 frame and a match.
It